Angie. So now it's, what, December 2nd, and I didn't get around to doing the fall time cozy time tag that everybody was sending around. So I'm going to do that now before it gets embarrassingly late and it's no longer relevant. I can still kind of squeeze it in this deadline period. So I did want to do it because it did sound like a lot of fun. So here we go. Let me pull up the questions. Oh, I should mention that this tag was originally created by Novels and Nonsense, just FYI. If you're interested in seeing the original video, I will tag it down below. Okay, so crunching leaves. The world is full of color. Imagine with me. I know we're getting into winter, but imagine with me, it's still happening. The world is full of color. Choose a book that has reds, oranges, and yellows on the cover. Well, that one was pretty easy, since I had it sitting around. I have Walden by Henry David Thoreau. I'll figure out a place to put all these books. Okay. My library is sort of in shambles right now because I've been doing a lot of videos today, so there's stacks and whatnots everywhere. Cozy sweater. It's finally cold enough to don warm, cozy clothing. What book gives you the warm fuzzies? And the one that came to mind was 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Hemph. And even though it's a memoir, and you wouldn't necessarily put those on a cozy read book, this is a series of letters that Helen, or I don't know if it's Helen or Helene, but she writes to she's in America writing to a British bookseller whose bookshop is on 84 Charing Cross Road, and it's all these letters between them about their love of books and how she can't really find what she's into to read where she's at. Their letters just keep going back and forth with reading suggestions and things that maybe they came across that inspired them or had them thinking, and this friendship just develops between her and this bookseller, and it's so sweet, and just it's just every time I open this book and just flip through one of the letters, it makes me smile. Fall storm. The wind is howling and the rain is pounding. Choose your favorite book or genre that you would like to read on a stormy day. Okay, and for that one, the one that came to mind was The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. And this book has all the elements that I like to read on rainy days. It has dark wooden libraries, the mystery story, the inclement weather, the moody atmosphere that sort of lends to everything going on in the story, and it's just a perfect book for book lovers. And the library they talk about in this book, I just drool over. It talks about like all these floor to ceiling wooden shelves and like a wall of windows and the fireplace going, and it's just yeah, so this book, or this type of book that has to do with like stormy weather, I really like reading books that have stormy weather when it's actually stormy outside. It just makes it that much better. So books that involve stormy weather and just books and libraries and book inspired mysteries or historical mysteries, that kind of thing, I'm all for that on a rainy day. Cool, crisp air. What's the coolest character you'd want to trade places with? This one was kind of hard for me because I could think of books where they had characters I would want to hang with, but as far as trading places with, that one kind of stumped me for a minute. Because a lot of books I have that I really like, bad things happen to the characters that they have to overcome. And I wouldn't necessarily want to be in those situations instead of them. I kind of like being an observer. But the two that came to mind that I could maybe work with are Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. So I was thinking of the girl in this book. I think her name's Euda. She has kind of an unusual name, and I may be mispronouncing that. I think she's French. Phineas in this book, he, with Passepartout, ends up saving the life of Euda, and so she becomes friends with the both of them, and slowly starts sort of developing a crush on Phineas. And travels around on this adventure they go on where Phineas has this bet with the guys at his gentleman's club, or actually I think it's with the Science Society, if I remember right. But they're kind of like a gentleman's club that hang out together. They have this bet going that Phineas can't make it around the entire world in 80 days using these guidelines they give him. Or he sets out to prove that he can do it and that he's time efficient enough to pull it off. I was just thinking with this book, they go into some really cool places and have these situations they have to work themselves out of. It's funny because this book is famous for having a hot air balloon association, but there's no hot air balloon that they use in this story. That was something that the movies introduced later. But I was thinking, if I was Aida in this story, and I think it would be fun to hang out with Phineas and Passepartout with some of the adventures they go on. And if I was Aida in this situation, although I wouldn't necessarily want to be in the moment where she's facing death, but considering Phineas is going to be there to pull me out of it, I would later maybe suggest we try the hot air balloon, because wouldn't that be fun? But I guess that would depend on how much time we would have. Maybe if we're ahead of schedule, hey, let's go on a hot air balloon ride and actually incorporate it into the story it's famous for. Not that I'm blaming Jules Verne for that. If he didn't want one, he'd have to put one in there. But that's what I would do. So I thought of that one. The other one I thought of is Mary Magdalene in Lamb by Christopher Moore. And if you're not familiar with this is sort of a tongue-in-cheek look at the biblical story. There's Biff, who is the childhood best friend of Jesus, but Biff points out that Jesus is actually the Greek translation, and when they were kids, Jesus was actually known as Joshua. Josh and Biff go on this adventure to find out if Josh is in fact the Messiah. And there's Mary Magdalene, and the story largely takes place when they're all kids, or kind of approaching teenage years, which I thought was a really cool idea, to know these characters that we know from the Bible, to know them as teenagers, basically, or almost preteens. So there's a lot of junior high school bickering between the characters. Mary Magdalene is really cute in this book because she's like the preteen girl that they're both kind of interested in, but Josh he feels like he can't really be that interested in her if he's got to go do the Messiah thing. So I think it would be kind of like Ouida in Around the World in 80 Days. I think it would be fun to be part of that trio. But in this situation, Mary Magdalene in this story gets married off to a guy that she's really grossed out by, but her dad needed it to happen. So she has to watch Biff and Josh go off on their adventure while she's stuck with this grotesque guy that's now her husband. So I think in that situation, I would want to be Mary Magdalene to hang out with them and go on this big adventure instead of being held back. And I just sneak out one night and be like, yeah, let's go on a journey. That sounds like fun. So that's the one that came to mind. I feel like I missed one. Oh, okay. Okay. Hot Apple Cider. What underhyped books do you want to see become the next biggest, hottest thing? I've mentioned it before on this channel, and the one that came to mind is I wish there was more attention put on Samuel Parks novels. It wouldn't be that hard to catch up. As far as I know, I think he only has 2 out at the moment. But I'm really impressed with his writing style and the way he puts sentences and visuals together and the way he creates characters. One of the things I'm impressed with is the fact that it doesn't seem forced. There are a lot of books I read now, especially ones that have a lot of hype around them. If the author is even a little bit well known, I see a lot of books that just feel like the author is buying into their own hype, and they just know that people are going to eat it up and that everyone should be impressed with this. And it kind of annoys me. But in Samuel Parks' works, he's still just about the storytelling and the characters. And there's something about it that just, it doesn't seem forced. It seems natural. It seems like something you could totally picture happening. They seem like real people, even if they're in these dire situations. They just seem like people that you could totally get to know. And they're, I never run into wooden dialogue with him. I never run into cliche settings. It's just, I never get tired of it. I'm really impressed with his writing, and I don't hear enough about him. So I would say check out his books. He has this one, This Burns My Heart, and he has a novel called Shakespeare's Sonnets, which I've talked about in my, I think it's in my LGBT reads video. So yeah, go check him out. Okay. Coats, scarves, and mittens. The weather has turned cold and it's time to cover up. What's the most embarrassing book cover you own that you like to keep hidden in public? Most of my books, I don't care if you see them. I'm going to read what I want to read. So there's nothing that I would be like, oh. But the one that came to mind that I thought might shock people if, say, I was reading it at the doctor's office or something, was Leaning Towards Infinity by Sue Wolf. And I only say this because it has a full bare naked lady on the cover, just all stretched out in all her glory. And the thing with this is, this book is actually a book about, it's a novel about a woman who's she's a female mathematician who believes she might have discovered a new number. I don't know why I haven't read this book yet. I don't know why she's all bared out on the cover, but when I read the synopsis, that didn't stop me. I was like, this sounds pretty cool. So that would be the one I could think of in my library where people are like, oh, naked people. So yeah. All right, that's what I got. Oh, I missed it. I keep missing questions. Okay. Pumpkin spice. What is your favorite fall time comfort food or foods? Well, I'm not a huge pumpkin person, and pumpkin seems to be the thing that people go crazy over this time of year. And I don't hate it, but it just doesn't do anything for me. I love pecan pie. So yeah, pecan pie, and I like hot apple cider this time of year. It's about the only time of year that it's not too warm in the South to drink it. So yeah, once it gets to this time of year, I tend to drink a lot of it. So yeah, hot apple cider. And then as far as meals go, I love I do a lot of homemade chili this time of year. So I do homemade chili. And also, I haven't had it in a long time, but this time of year used to be a big time when I do Panera Bakery does that. It's a chain, so I don't know if it's a nationwide chain, but if you have one and you haven't tried it yet, go check this out. But Panera's broccoli and cheddar soup in their bread bowls, yeah, that's a winter pleasure right there. So, or fall time pleasure, yeah, but it extends into the winter. So yeah, I would definitely recommend those. So okay, I think that's all of them. Warm Cozy Bonfire says, spread the warmth. Who do you tag? All you guys. So yeah, I wasn't specifically tagged. I do what I want. So yeah, if you want to do this, or if you want to save it for next year, I will put the questions below if you just want to make a note of it and try it next year. If you want to go ahead and do it, do it. I don't care. It's your channel. You do what you want on your channel. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.